After years of experimenting with the wands, reading a lot of texts that many are over 100 years old, looking at dozens if not hundreds of different wand combinations, this is the introductory drill I like to teach people. We've already went over how to establish that triangle, but in brief, I'm looking down both arms. I want the elbows soft locked and I want the wrist straight. I want my posture upright and tall but not rigid. And then we're going to move into what's called an overhead raise. So the first part of this is going to be passive, meaning I'm going to have soft hands on the ends of the wand. There's going to be no pulling, no extra tension, no forcing. It's always flowing through the movements without forcing. And I'm going to gently raise up the wand. You see my hands are open, kind of like a pincher crab here. And I'm going to keep elevating the wand until I come into my midline. And by midline, I mean if you cut my body in half from the front to the back, that midline is my goal or my target. If I can get there with no pain. If you have pain, stop short and always modify or regress. So I'm able to come into the midline with this length of wand. I'm going to keep the wrist straight, the elbow straight, and come up. And so the first few times of doing this, I actually like people to go ahead and come out of neutral with their neck and look up and check their wrist and elbow position, because again, it's hard to feel this sometimes, especially when you're starting. You'll be a little off here. So go ahead and look, straighten your wrist, lock those elbows, and if you're in front here too far, you can get the wand back. You don't need to be behind the midline, just come up right over the crown of the head. And it's passive, so I see how my hands are open here, and then I come down. So I can spend a couple of minutes just getting people lined up on that, if not more than 5 or 10 minutes sometimes. It depends on the person. And getting them to feel their way through that with no force whatsoever, and the ability to get that, own that movement out of the shoulders is very important. Without bending the wrists and bending the elbows, it can take a few times. So once we establish that that can be done without pain, we can add the next part of the movement, which is called active. So passive is no pulling on the wand. Active, I'm actually going to pull in each ends of the wand and almost gently try to pull the wand in half or stretch it. So I'm not, doing some massive movement here in terms of force. It's a very, very gentle pull. So as I raise the wand up, I've got my angle set. I'm going to start tugging on it right here, and I just pull gently as I finish, and I come back down. So about 3/4 the way up, I start feathering in the pull. In other words, I don't want to get here and just yank on it, right? It's a soft increase of tension, pulling, and then I release and I let my foot off the gas a little bit on the way down. I put a little into it, and then I gently release. So even as we apply the force to pull each end of the wand or stretch it, it's a soft increase and then a gentle decrease. So we have passive and we have active. I'm going to pull a little bit, and that's going to cause both of my shoulder blades, when I pull, to rotate back. It's called retraction. So protraction is rolling forward, retraction is rolling back, and the wand is a great retraction tool because we're protracted so much of the time, hunching over the phones and the computers. There's one more level for this overhead raise. We went over the first two. If we can do the first two with good form, we can add a pulse. So as I come up, I'm making it active, and now I'm pulsing a little bit here. I keep my wrist straight and my elbow straight. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this, because on the pulse, I'm actually going to go just a little bit further than completely upright vertical. I might be a little bit past that midline. So I'm looking up, I've got my angles, and now I'm just going to pulse a little bit. I'm going to keep pulling and rocking the shoulders back, and when I feel like I've had enough, I gradually let off and I come down and rest, and I go back up and start again. From the back. So just a few I was tempted to say a few minutes, but even a few seconds of that can really start activating things in people, and they can get a little burning. And so while the wand is we can look at it simply as a stretching tool. It can actually make you a little bit stronger too when you have enough quality of movement through a full range of motion with no pain. Remember, these are restorative tools, first do no harm. And that's the introductory exercise I really like to teach everyone, is an overhead raise with 3 different levels: passive, no pulling; active, pulling or stretching; and then pulsing, just a little bit of a gentle bounce back beyond the frontal plane or that midline of the body.